The call came on a Wednesday, ordinary enough that I still had coffee breath and Post-it notes stuck to my sleeve. From the morning rush, I had just sunk into my desk chair when my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. No caller ID. No reason to answer, but I did. Hello? Is this Grace Harper? I hesitated. Yes, this is Daniel with Freedom National Bank. We're calling regarding your mortgage balance of $523,000. We've sent several notices, but I don't have a mortgage. I said, my voice sharper than I meant it to be. You must have the wrong person. A pause. Ma'am, the file we're reviewing shows your name, date of birth, and social security number. You're listed as the primary borrower. The loan was opened 3 years ago. 3 years. My mind stopped. That was the year Lily, my younger sister, started talking about buying a house. She'd called it her fresh start, said she wanted something big enough for a family. I remembered her waving Pinterest photos across the dinner table, laughing about credit scores like they were bad jokes. Mom said, "We'll figure something out. Family always finds a way." But not this way. I ended the call politely somehow and sat staring at nothing for a full minute. The hum of my laptop fan filled the monosit. My palms were damp. My mouth was dry. I told myself it had to be a mistake, some kind of mix-up, a typo, maybe someone with the same name in the same state, but my gut didn't believe it. I tore through the drawer beside my bed, digging past old pay stubs and birthday cards. I found the last letter I'd gotten from Freedom, a generic flyer tossed months ago. I didn't think anything of it at the time. Now it felt like a warning I hadn't understood. I sat on the floor of my apartment, surrounded by envelopes and loose sheets, staring down at my life in pieces. I had no property, no car loan, no joint, anything. My finances were simple by design, and yet someone had signed me into $500,000 of debt. And not just someone. There was only one group of people who had my full legal name, my social, my signature on paper from years of helping them fill out FAFSA forms and doctor paperwork and bank applications, my family. The thought formed before I could stop it. I didn't want to believe it. But some betrayals don't kick the door in. They just quietly turn the lock behind you. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, tracing the same thought over and over. If they had asked, would I have said yes? I didn't think so. But that wasn't the point. They never gave me the chance. By morning, I had stopped pretending it was a mistake. The pieces fit too well. The timing, the language, the silence. Lily had been talking about her dream house just months before that mortgage date. A wraparound porch, a finished basement room for future possibilities. She was between jobs back then. Her credit was shot, but our mother said not to worry. Linda always finds a way. Apparently, I was the way. I started pulling old documents from my file cabinet, things I hadn't touched in years, old tax forms, Social Security copies, insurance policies I'd co-signed when Mom had surgery. There, in my own handwriting, were the keys to the kingdom. Everything someone would need to impersonate me, and I had handed them over piece by piece because I was the responsible one, the fixer, the quiet daughter who didn't make waves. I thought about the way my mother used to say it almost proudly. Grace doesn't need help. She's strong. She figures things out. That was always the trade-off. Lily got grace, I got silence. Growing up, it was little things. She'd forget to clean up, and it was, she's going through a phase. I'd forget, and it was, you know better, Grace. She'd crash her car, and Dad would say, that's what insurance is for. I'd ask for a used laptop, and Mom would remind me, we're not made of money. They didn't hate me. That would have been easier. They just didn't see me as someone who could break. And maybe that's why they thought it was fine signing my name, taking my credit, folding me into a lie that could have ruined my life. Maybe to them I was strong enough to carry it. But underneath that calm exterior, something had shifted. Not rage, not revenge, clarity. I opened my laptop and requested the loan documents from the bank. The woman on the phone sounded polite, efficient, unaware that her PDF would change everything. When it arrived, I stared at the screen. There it was, page after page, my name, my birth date, my information, my signature. Except it wasn't mine. It was close. Too close. Someone had practiced, studied, maybe even traced, but they hadn't copied the hesitation in my R or the slight upward tilt in the Y of Harper. This signature was cleaner, straighter, confident in a way mine had never been. Looking at it felt like staring at a version of myself I didn't know. A forgery that fooled the world, but not me. And the scariest part, I knew exactly who had written it. I didn't call them. I didn't text Lily or send some shaking paragraph to my parents asking how they could do this. I didn't scream or demand. I just started collecting every copy of every document that tied me to them: tax returns, medical authorizations, school loan forms I had co-signed when Dad lost his job. I went back nearly 10 years, folder by folder, building a quiet paper trail. There were so many signatures, so many little moments where I had said yes out of duty, out of love, out of habit. I had said yes when no one even asked. One by one, I printed my own records, credit reports, identity protection logs, a list of accounts under my name. I'd never owned a property, but here it was Freedom National's full mortgage package, with my name on the dotted line, notarized, legally binding, signed, sealed, and stolen. For a while, I kept all of it on my kitchen table, sorted in neat piles like I was prepping for a school project. But this wasn't school. This was survival. A friend from work, Emma, noticed something was off. She caught me staring too long at nothing during lunch and pulled me aside. "You look like you're holding your breath," she said. I told her everything. I don't know why. Maybe because she was one of the only people who ever called to ask how are you and meant it. She didn't try to comfort me, just pulled out her phone and said, "Call this guy. He's smart, doesn't flinch at family messes." That's how I met Mr. Thompson. He was older, ex-military maybe, with the kind of voice that didn't waste syllables. I sat across from him at a small cafe 3 blocks from my apartment. No receptionist, no elevator lobby, just him, a legal pad, and a black coffee. He flipped through my stack without a word. When he finished, he closed the folder and looked me in the eye. "You understand what this is, right?" "I think so," I said. "Fraud and identity theft," he added at minimum. Hearing those words aloud made something tighten in my chest. I nodded. "I don't want to destroy them. I just want this undone." "You're not destroying anyone," he said. "You're reclaiming what's yours." Over the next hour, he walked me through the steps: file a police report, notify the bank in writing, submit evidence, dispute the mortgage, legally press charges if necessary. "It's going to be long," he warned, "and it's going to burn any bridge that's left." I thought about that word burn as if the bridge was still there to begin with, as if I hadn't already been walking alone for years. When I got home, I opened an old birthday card from a box I hadn't touched since I moved in. It was from my mom. I recognized the loopy handwriting before I even read it. "Happy 28th to our steady one. We don't say it enough, but you've always been our rock, our backup plan. We're so lucky to have you, our backup plan." It was meant to be sweet, I know that now, but all I could feel was the truth behind it. They had seen me as reliable, strong, quiet, so quiet they thought I'd never say no. But I was done being the plan they used when everything else failed. Now I had one of my own. Sunday came fast, too fast. I stood in front of my parents' house, the one with the blue shutters and cracked driveway, gripping a folder in my purse like it might burn through the leather. I hadn't said a word to them all week. Not since I got the documents. Not since I sat in Mr. Thompson's office and realized this wasn't just messy, it was criminal. Still, I knocked. The door opened almost instantly. My mother beamed. "Grace, sweetheart." I was just about to pull the roast out of the oven like nothing had happened. I stepped inside. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and onions the same way it always had. Lily was curled up on the couch, scrolling on her phone, an empty wine glass beside her. My father sat in his recliner watching a football game like the world hadn't shifted. No one looked at me too long. I sat quietly through dinner: pot roast mashed potatoes, green beans with too much garlic. My mother made small talk. Lily complained about her HOA. Dad grunted at the TV. I waited. After the dishes were cleared, I spoke. "Hey, quick question." 3 pairs of eyes turned toward me. Mild curiosity. No tension. Just another one of Grace's practical inquiries, probably about insurance or tires. "Does anyone know anything about a mortgage with my name on it?" Silence. The kind that makes the air heavy. Lily's shoulders tightened. My mother's smile froze mid-expression. My father cleared his throat. I didn't move, didn't blink, just waited. Finally, Mom spoke, her voice soft, like we were discussing a late bill. Oh, honey, that's just paperwork. Lily needed help qualifying. It's not like you're paying anything. It's family. Lily added, eyes still fixed on the table. You have good credit. I don't. It's not fair if you won't help. Not fair. Like I'd been selfish for asking. Like it was normal. I looked at them, the woman who raised me, the sister I used to protect from nightmares, the father who once told me I was his calm in the storm. They didn't see what they'd done as wrong. They saw it as expected. I nodded once, slow, neutral. Thanks for explaining, I said quietly. Lily relaxed already, back on her phone. My father reached for the remote. My mother looked relieved, like a crisis had been smoothed over. None of them saw what had shifted. They thought I was still the same Grace, still the quiet one, still safe. But I hadn't come to fight. I'd come to listen, to give them a chance, and they used it to justify the lie. The next morning, I filed the police report. The officer at the station had the look of someone who'd seen too many family cases, tired, polite, careful. When I handed him the folder I'd built with Mr. Thompson's help, he flipped through slowly, his brow tightening with every page. "You're sure you want to move forward with this?" he asked, not out of doubt but hesitation. "If I don't," I said, "they'll just keep doing it." He nodded, stamped the papers. It was official. That afternoon, I mailed the certified letter to Freedom National. Inside was the police report, a formal dispute notice, and copies of my ID. I watched the clerk at the post office slide it into the outgoing tray like it was any other envelope. But to me, it was a severance, a quiet, final line drawn in ink. I didn't warn them. No angry phone call, no confrontation, just silence. 3 days passed, then 5, then a full week. No calls, no messages, just the dull ache of waiting for something to break. It finally did. Friday night, just after sunset, there was a knock on my door. I peeked through the peephole and saw my mother standing outside, wrapped in her nicest coat, face tight with something between fury and fear. I opened the door but didn't step back. She didn't wait for an invitation. "How could you?" she hissed. "How dare you go to the police?" Her voice was sharp, but beneath it I heard the panic, not about me, about what it meant, about exposure. I said nothing. "I trusted you to be understanding," she continued. "Lily needed help. Family sticks together." "No," I said softly. "Family asks. They don't steal." She blinked like the words hit harder because they were so calm. "You've ruined everything," she snapped. "Do you know how this looks?" I nearly laughed, but I didn't. I didn't ruin anything, I said. I just stopped pretending it wasn't broken. She opened her mouth to argue, but I was already closing the door. The latch clicked into place with the softest sound, but to me, it felt louder than any scream. That night, Lily called 12 times, left 4 voicemails, each one angrier than the last. I deleted them without listening. The next morning, I woke to an email from Freedom National. "We have suspended the mortgage loan pending further investigation." Attached was a formal apology. They were reviewing the notary records and the signature file. My credit score was still damaged, but the unraveling had begun. I called Mr. Thompson. "They're taking it seriously," I said. "They usually do," he replied, "when people don't yell and instead show them the truth." He was right. I hadn't shouted. I hadn't begged. I had just stood still while the truth did its work. And somehow, that was enough. In the weeks that followed, the silence around me grew thicker. No more texts, no more invitations, no more guilt-laced reminders that I should be grateful for the family I had. They didn't want to fix anything. They just wanted the version of me who kept saying yes, but she was gone. Instead, I filled my weekends with things I had forgotten I liked, walking to the farmer's market, buying flowers for my kitchen table, sitting in the quiet with a book and no phone ringing. I didn't want revenge. Not really. I just wanted distance and peace. And for the first time, I had both. Months passed. Spring crept in quietly, trees blooming in soft pinks and yellows like the world had decided to start fresh, whether I was ready or not. I kept my head down, answered emails from Mr. Thompson, signed documents, checked my credit report like it was a weather forecast I didn't trust. The case was still open. The damage was still there, but something inside me had settled. I spent my weekends in motion, walking trails, trying pottery at the community center, volunteering at the library on Saturdays. Nothing dramatic, just mine. Hours that belonged to no one else. One morning, I stood behind my booth at a local artisan fair, surrounded by mismatched mugs and bowls I had shaped with unsure hands. A woman picked up a piece labeled Reclamation, a cup slightly off-center smooth, in some places imperfect in others. She turned it over in her palm. Why that name? I shrugged. Because it wasn't supposed to exist, but it does. She smiled, paid in cash, and walked away. That night, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea and the first real quiet I'd earned in years. Not the silence of being ignored, but the silence of being unclaimed. That was when I saw them, my mother, my father, and Lily, standing at the edge of the parking lot near my apartment like they weren't sure whether to come closer or walk away. They looked smaller than I remembered. Lily's makeup was smudged. My father's shirt was wrinkled untucked. My mother clutched her purse like it was the only solid thing she had left. I walked down the stairs slowly, not rushing, not hiding. When they saw me, they froze. "Grace," my mother started, voice trembling. "We made mistakes, but we're still family." Lily stepped forward. "I just need help. Just for a little while. Please don't shut us out." There was no fire in me anymore. No anger. Just a deep, still quiet that came from knowing they weren't here because they loved me. They were here because they needed me again. I set down my bag and looked at them. Each of them really looked. "I hope I said carefully, you one day understand what real family means." They didn't interrupt, but it's not something you can steal or fake or expect when it's convenient. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a manila envelope. Inside was a printed copy of the forged mortgage document. My name, their signatures, a red stamp across the front that simply read, "Void." Tucked in behind it was something else, a birthday card from years ago, the one that said, "You've always been our backup plan." I handed the envelope to my mother. Her hands shook as she took it. "I'm not angry," I said. "Not anymore." She opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't wait. "I'm finally free," I said, "and I'm not coming back." Then I turned and walked away. The sound of my footsteps on the stairs felt heavier than any argument I could have had. I didn't look back. When I reached the top landing, I paused. The wind lifted the edge of my coat. The sun was starting to set, casting long shadows across the parking lot. I whispered, not to them, but to myself. Sometimes walking away is the loudest thing you'll ever say, and I meant it. They used my name like it belonged to them, but I walked away. No screaming, no warning, just silence they couldn't ignore. If you've ever been treated like the backup plan, you'll understand why I never looked back. Subscribe if you're done being quiet. Some truths aren't told to be forgiven, just remembered. Grace Harper learns a profound lesson about self-worth and the importance of setting boundaries even with family. Initially defined by her role as the reliable, quiet daughter, she discovers that her trust and compliance enabled her family to exploit her, forging her signature for a massive mortgage. This betrayal forces Grace to confront the painful reality that love and duty do not justify deception. Through her methodical response, gathering evidence, seeking legal help, and facing her family without anger, she realizes that strength lies not in enduring silently, but in reclaiming her autonomy. By walking away, Grace prioritizes her peace over familial expectations, understanding that true family respects consent and individuality, not exploitation for convenience. Her journey teaches her that saying no, even to those closest, is not selfishness, but self-preservation. The silence she embraces is not weakness, but a powerful assertion of her right to exist unclaimed. Grace's lesson is that some truths must be remembered, not forgiven, and that walking away can be the loudest statement of self-respect, freeing her to build a life defined by her own choices, not others' demands.
The notification lit up my phone at 3:42 p.m. while I was in the middle of a board meeting with 12 executives from Carter Entertainment Holdings. We were discussing the acquisition of 3 more theme parks to add to our portfolio, each one representing a $200 million investment, when the family group chat exploded with activity. "Excuse me for just a moment," I said to the boardroom, discreetly checking my phone. "Family trip planning, 7 messages. Mom, We've finalized the Disney World trip. December 15th to 22nd. Everyone's tickets are booked. Dad, can't wait. First family vacation in 3 years. Sister Emma, the kids are so excited. Thank you Mom and Dad for paying for everything. Brother Josh, this is going to be epic. 7 days at the Grand Floridian. Mom, we've got the deluxe dining plan, park hopper tickets and VIP experiences booked for everyone. Emma, wait, where's Madison's name on the reservation list? Mom, Madison can't afford a trip like this right now. We decided it's better to keep it to immediate family who can actually contribute. I stared at my phone, sitting in a conference room on the 42nd floor of a building I owned, surrounded by executives discussing deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars, reading about how I couldn't afford a Disney vacation. Josh, yeah, Madison's still figuring out her life. No point in stressing her finances. Dad, maybe next year when she's more stable. Emma, have fun being poor, Madison. Face with tears of joy will send you pics from Space Mountain. The irony was breathtaking. They were planning to stay at the Grand Floridian, a resort that my company had helped finance during Disney's expansion 3 years ago. They'd be using VIP services that my corporate partnerships had helped develop. They'd be enjoying experiences that existed partly because of deals I'd personally negotiated. And they thought I was too poor to join them. Miss Carter. One of the executives was looking at me expectantly. Your thoughts on the Orlando market analysis? I looked up from my phone, back to the presentation about theme park acquisitions and entertainment industry projections. The Orlando market remains robust. Our partnerships there have been particularly profitable. I typed a quick response to the family chat. Enjoy. Roller coaster sparkles. Mom, we knew you'd understand, honey. Maybe we can plan something smaller for you next year. Emma, like a weekend at Six Flags. Face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. After the meeting ended, I stayed in the conference room, looking out at the Chicago skyline and thinking about understanding. My family understood that I drove a modest car and lived in a simple apartment. They understood that I worked for an entertainment company but never talked about my specific role. They understood that I was 29, unmarried, and appeared to be struggling to find my direction in life. What they didn't understand was that Madison Carter, the family disappointment, was also Madison Carter, CEO of Carter Entertainment Holdings, owner of 7 theme parks, 12 resort properties, and enough Disney stock to influence corporate decisions. What they really didn't understand was that their VIP Disney experience was happening because I'd personally called in favors with Disney executives I'd worked with for years. My phone rang. Jennifer Walsh, my executive assistant. Madison, I have Robert Chin from Disney Security on the line. He says it's regarding the Mitchell family VIP package. My heart stopped. Mitchell was my family's last name before I'd legally changed it to Carter for business purposes. Put him through. Miss Carter, this is Robert Chin from Disney World Security and Guest Services. I'm calling about a VIP package that was arranged for the Mitchell family December 15th through 22nd. Yes. There seems to be some confusion about authorization. The package includes complimentary Grand Floridian accommodation, unlimited access passes and premium dining reservations. Our records show you as the corporate contact who arranged these amenities. I'd forgotten. 6 months ago, when Mom had casually mentioned wanting to take the grandkids to Disney, someday when we could afford it, I'd quietly arranged for a VIP package to be available if they ever booked a trip. I'd meant it as a surprise gift, thinking I'd reveal my involvement when they planned their vacation. Instead, they'd planned their vacation without me and told me I was too poor to participate. Yes, I arranged those amenities. Should we proceed with the package as planned? The value is approximately $45,000 in complimentary services. I looked out the window at the city where I'd built my business empire, thinking about my family enjoying a vacation I'd secretly provided while mocking my financial situation. Actually, Robert, I need to make some changes to that package. What kind of changes? Cancel the Mitchell family VIP services. All of them. Cancel? Are you sure? This is a significant package resort upgrade, dining plan, fast pass privileges, character meet and greets. I'm sure. Cancel everything that's currently complimentary. Let them book and pay for their own standard package. Should I provide them with an explanation? I smiled, thinking about my sister's laughing emoji and her suggestion that I might afford Six Flags someday. Tell them the corporate sponsorship they were relying on has been redirected to other priorities. Understood. What about the December dates? Should I note that those reservations are no longer held? Let me think about that. After hanging up with Disney security, I called my travel coordinator. Sandra, I need you to book a vacation for me. Disney World, December 15th through 22nd. The same dates as your family? Sandra had been coordinating my business and personal travel for 3 years. She knew about my complicated relationship with my family, though not the full extent of how they viewed my financial situation. The exact same dates. What level of accommodations? I want the presidential suite at the Grand Floridian. I want unlimited everything park access dining experiences. I want a personal Disney guide for all 7 days. That's going to cost approximately $75,000. Book it. Should I arrange for the usual corporate identity protection? That was Sandra's polite way of asking if I wanted to travel incognito, which I usually did to avoid media attention about my business activities. No. I want full VIP recognition. I want Disney executives to know I'm there. I want red carpet treatment. Are you sure? That's going to attract attention. I'm counting on it. That evening, I called my oldest friend, Amy, who knew about both my family situation and my business success. They literally told you to have fun being poor while planning a Disney vacation? Amy was incredulous. Madison, that's beyond cruel. It gets better. They're staying at a resort I helped finance, using VIP services I arranged. During dates I could have joined them if they'd bothered to ask. So what are you going to do? I'm going to Disney World. Same dates as them? Same dates. Better accommodations. Maximum visibility. Amy was quiet for a moment. You're going to run into them. I'm counting on it. Madison, are you sure about this? Once they know who you really are, everything changes. Everything changed when they decided I was too poor for family vacations. The next day I had Jennifer send an email to my family. Hi everyone. I saw the Disney plans in the group chat and wanted to let you know I'll actually be in Orlando those same dates for work. Maybe we'll run into each other. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Mom, work? What kind of work takes you to Disney World? Me, entertainment industry stuff. Boring meetings mostly. Josh, are you staying on property or some cheap motel off I-4? Me, on property. Should be fun. Emma, if you see us, you'll recognize us by our VIP tour guide. We got upgraded to some amazing package. I almost laughed. Emma was bragging about VIP services that no longer existed. Me, that sounds incredible. Hope it all works out. 2 weeks before the trip my phone rang. It was Mom. Madison, honey, we need to talk. What's going on? There's been some kind of mix-up with our Disney reservation. They called to say our VIP package was canceled due to some corporate policy change. Oh no. That's terrible. We're trying to figure out what happened. The woman from Disney said something about corporate sponsorship being redirected, but we never had corporate sponsorship. We paid for everything ourselves. Maybe it was a computer error? Maybe. But now instead of the Grand Floridian we're staying at Port Orleans. Instead of VIP dining we have basic meal plans. The kids are going to be so disappointed. I made sympathetic noises while privately noting that Port Orleans was still a perfectly nice resort, just not the luxury accommodation they'd been expecting. I'm sure you'll still have a wonderful time, Mom. I hope so. It's just frustrating. We were so excited about the upgrade and now? She sighed. At least we can still afford the basic package. That's what matters. Family time together. You're right. Speaking of which, when you said you'd be there for work, where exactly are you staying? I'm not sure yet. My assistant handles all the travel arrangements. Well, if you want to meet up for a meal or something, let us know. Though I should warn you, with our reduced dining plan, we can't afford anywhere too expensive. Of course, Mom. I understand. December 15th arrived gray and humid in Orlando. I flew down on the Carter Entertainment Holdings corporate jet, a detail I'd specifically requested Sandra include in my travel itinerary. The flight crew wore company uniforms with our logo prominently displayed. At Disney World, I was met by not one but 3 Disney executives, including the Vice President of VIP Services, who personally escorted me to the presidential suite at the Grand Floridian. Ms. Carter, it's an honor to have you staying with us, said Patricia Williams, the VP. Your company's partnership has been invaluable to our expansion projects. Thank you, Patricia. I'm looking forward to experiencing the parks from a guest perspective. We've arranged everything you requested. Personal guide, unlimited access, priority seating everywhere. Is there anything else we can provide? Actually, there is one thing. I have family staying here at the resort this week. They don't know about my business identity, and I'd like to keep it that way unless they approach me directly. Of course, we'll be discreet. The presidential suite was magnificent, 2,300 square feet with views of the Magic Kingdom, a full kitchen, living and dining areas, and a private balcony. It was the kind of accommodation that cost $5,000 per night and was usually reserved for celebrities and heads of state. I unpacked and changed into casual clothes, then headed down to the lobby to check out the resort, and possibly run into my family. I didn't have to wait long. As I was admiring the gingerbread house display in the Grand Floridian lobby, I heard familiar voices. "Excuse me," Emma was saying to a cast member at the concierge desk. "We were supposed to have VIP dining reservations, but they're not showing up in your system." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't see any VIP packages associated with your reservation. You have the standard dining plan, which provides excellent options throughout the property. But we specifically booked VIP dining. We were supposed to have priority seating at California Grill, Monsieur Paul, Victoria, and Albert's." Josh joined the conversation. "Look, we paid good money for this vacation. We expect the premium services we were promised." The cast member was clearly trying to be helpful while explaining that their reservation didn't include any of the services they expected. I watched from across the lobby as my family realized their Disney experience wasn't going to be the luxury vacation they'd planned. "Madison." Mom's voice came from behind me. I turned to see her approaching with Dad, both looking tired and frustrated. "Mom. Dad. What a coincidence. We didn't expect to see you here. Especially not at the Grand Floridian. My work meetings are in this area, so they put me up here." "Your work meetings? I thought you said entertainment industry." "That's right." Dad looked around the opulent lobby with its marble floors and crystal chandeliers. "This place costs $800 a night. What kind of entertainment company puts their employees up at the Grand Floridian?" "A good one, I guess." Emma and Josh had finished their frustrating conversation with the concierge and joined our family reunion. "Madison." Emma hugged me, though I could see the stress in her face. "Isn't this place incredible? We're having the most amazing VIP experience." "It looks like it's going great," I said, glancing toward the concierge desk where they'd been arguing about missing reservations. "Well, there have been a few small hiccups," Josh admitted. "Some computer errors with our dining reservations. But we're working it out." "I'm sure you are." Emma studied my clothes, designer jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than their daily park tickets. "Madison, what exactly do you do for work again?" "I work in entertainment." "But what do you do?" Before I could answer, Patricia Williams appeared at my elbow. "Miss Carter, I hope everything is satisfactory with your suite?" "Perfect, thank you. Your private guide will meet you at the Magic Kingdom VIP entrance tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. as requested. And I've confirmed your dinner reservation at Victoria and Albert's tonight. They're very excited to host you." My family went dead silent. "Thank you, Patricia. I'll see you tomorrow." After Patricia left, I turned back to my family, who were staring at me like I'd grown a second head. "Madison," Dad said slowly, "who was that woman?" "Disney VIP Services. And she called you Miss Carter." "That's my name." "Since when?" "Your name is Madison Mitchell." "Since I legally changed it 6 years ago for business purposes." Mom found her voice. "Business purposes? What business?" I looked around the Grand Floridian lobby at my family, who had specifically excluded me from their vacation because I was too poor, at the resort where I was staying in accommodations that cost more per night than they made in a week. "I own Carter Entertainment Holdings. We develop and operate theme parks and resort properties." The silence was deafening. "You own what?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "Entertainment company. We have properties in 7 states, including partnerships with Disney on several expansion projects." Josh sat down heavily in one of the lobby's elegant chairs. When you said you worked in entertainment, I meant I own an entertainment company. How long? Dad asked. I started the company 8 years ago. We've been profitable for 6 years. Madison, Mom said, are you telling us you're wealthy? I'm telling you I own a company that generates approximately $800 million in revenue annually. Emma made a sound that was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. 800 million. That's gross revenue. Net profit is considerably less. How much less? Josh asked. About $200 million less. The math hit them like a physical blow. My family was sitting in the lobby of a luxury resort, realizing that the daughter and sister they'd excluded from their vacation for being poor was actually worth more money than they could comprehend. The VIP package we lost, Mom said slowly, the one Disney said was canceled due to corporate policy changes, was arranged by me 6 months ago. I thought I'd surprise you when you finally booked your Disney trip. You arranged our VIP package? I arranged a complimentary VIP package for my family. When I learned that my family had planned a vacation without me because I was too poor to afford it, I canceled the package. Emma started crying. Madison, we had no idea that I was successful, or that I was hurt by being excluded. Both. Either. We thought, you always seem to be struggling. You drive that old Honda, you live in that small apartment. I drive a Honda because it's reliable. I live in a small apartment because I travel constantly for work and don't need space I won't use. But you never said anything about money, about your business. Because every time I tried to talk about my work, you'd change the subject. Because you seemed more comfortable thinking of me as the family failure than as someone who'd built something significant. Dad was staring at his hands. Madison, I'm sorry. We were wrong. You were wrong about my finances. But you were right about one thing. What's that? Family is important. Which is why it hurt so much to be told I couldn't afford to be part of this family vacation. We sat in the Grand Floridian lobby, 7 family members processing 8 years of misunderstandings and assumptions. Other guests walked by, enjoying their magical Disney vacations, while we dealt with the reality that magic sometimes looks different than expected. What happens now? Emma asked. Now you enjoy your vacation. You have a wonderful resort, park tickets and meal plans. You'll create beautiful memories with your children. And you? I'll enjoy my vacation too. Different accommodations, different dining, but the same parks, same magic. Madison, Mom said, could we spend some time together this week? As a family. I'd like that. Even after how we treated you. Especially after how you treated me. Because that's what family does. We forgive each other and try to do better. Josh spoke up. The VIP package you canceled. Would you consider? Josh, are you asking me to reinstate VIP services for the family vacation I wasn't invited to? He had the grace to look embarrassed. When you put it like that, it sounds pretty bad. It sounds honest. So that's a no? I smiled. That's a let me think about it. That evening, while my family ate at the Grand Floridian Cafe with their standard dining plan, I had dinner at Victoria and Albert's, the resort's most exclusive restaurant. 7 courses, wine pairings, personal attention from the chef. I ate alone by choice, thinking about families and money and the complicated ways that love and resentment can coexist. The next morning my phone rang. It was Sandra. Madison, I have Robert Chin from Disney Security on the line again. He's asking about reinstating some services for the Mitchell family. Put him through. Miss Carter, I hope I'm not overstepping, but I wanted to check with you about the Mitchell family situation. We've had requests from several cast members asking if there's anything we can do to improve their experience. What kind of requests? They seem like a nice family who are disappointed about their reduced accommodations. Some of our staff have asked if we could authorize small upgrades, better dining reservations, fast pass access, things like that. Did the family ask for these upgrades? No, ma'am. Our cast members are just trying to create magic for guests who seem stressed about their vacation not meeting expectations. I thought about this. Disney cast members who dealt with thousands of guests every day had noticed my family's disappointment and wanted to help. That said something about the kind of people my family were, underneath their assumptions about money and success. Robert, I want you to do something for me. Of course. Restore their VIP dining reservations. Upgrade their FastPass access. Arrange for character meet and greets for the kids. But I want one condition. What's that? I want you to tell them the upgrades are courtesy of a fellow guest who overheard their situation and wanted to help make their vacation magical. A fellow guest? Don't mention my name. Just say someone wanted to share the magic. Miss Carter, that's very generous. It's Christmas season, Robert. Everyone deserves a little magic. 2 days later, I was enjoying a private VIP tour of the Magic Kingdom when I spotted my family near Space Mountain. Emma's kids were wearing Mickey ears and carrying balloons, all of them laughing and taking pictures. Emma saw me first and waved me over. Madison, you'll never guess what happened. What? Someone at the resort upgraded our whole vacation. New dining reservations, FastPass access, even private character meet and greets for the kids. That's amazing. Do you know who? Disney said it was a fellow guest who wanted to spread holiday magic. Can you believe it? A complete stranger made our whole vacation incredible. I smiled. That's the Disney magic for you. I know this sounds crazy, but part of me wonders if it was you. Me. You have connections here, right? For your business. I have some connections, yes. Did you arrange the upgrades? I looked at my niece and nephew, sticky with cotton candy and glowing with the joy that only Disney can create. I looked at my parents, relaxed and happy for the first time in months. I looked at Emma and Josh, finally able to enjoy the vacation they'd planned without financial stress. Emma, does it matter who arranged them? I guess not. If it was you, I want to say thank you. And I want to apologize again for how we treated you. The important thing is that you're all having a magical vacation. We are. But Madison, this week has made me realize something. What's that? We don't know you at all, do we? The real you. We've been so focused on what we thought your life looked like that we never asked what it actually looked like. What would you like to know? Everything. Your business, your success, how you built it, what makes you happy. All of it. That might take a while. We have time. This vacation ends Saturday, but our relationship doesn't have to end with it. On our last night in Orlando, my family invited me to join them for dinner at their newly upgraded restaurant reservation. We sat around a table at California Grill watching fireworks over the Magic Kingdom, talking about business and dreams and the 8 years we'd spent not really knowing each other. I have a confession, Mom said as we watched Tinker Bell fly over Cinderella Castle. When you were growing up, your father and I always worried about you. Worried how? You were so independent, so determined to do things your own way. You never seemed to need us the way Emma and Josh did. I always needed you. I just needed you differently. We didn't understand that. We thought needing help meant asking for money or advice about practical things. We didn't realize that you needed us to see your success, to celebrate your achievements, to be proud of what you'd built. I'm proud of what you built, Dad added. I'm sorry it took me so long to say that. What about the money? Josh asked. The fact that you're, well, rich? What about it? Does it change things? Between us? I thought about this carefully. It changes some things. I can afford to be generous in ways I couldn't before. I can help with emergencies, contribute to family expenses, make experiences possible that wouldn't otherwise happen. And what doesn't it change? The fact that I love you. The fact that I want to be part of this family. The fact that I'd rather spend Christmas at Mom and Dad's house than at some exclusive resort. Emma laughed. Even after we told you to have fun being poor? Especially after that. Because you gave me the opportunity to show you who I really am. Who are you really? She asked. I'm Madison Carter, CEO of Carter Entertainment Holdings. I'm also Madison Mitchell, youngest daughter of Robert and Patricia Mitchell, sister to Emma and Josh, aunt to Tyler and Sophie. And those two people are the same person? They're the same person who learned that money can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy the feeling of being included in family traditions. It can't buy the satisfaction of being seen and valued for who you are rather than what you have. So what happens now? Mom asked. Now we go home and we start over. You get to know the daughter who owns a business empire. I get to know the parents who raised me to be strong enough to build that empire. And maybe we all learn that success looks different than we thought. Speaking of success, Josh said, I have to ask. When Emma texted, have fun being poor, what did you think? I laughed. I thought it was the most expensive text message in family history. How expensive? Canceling your VIP package cost you about $45,000 in complimentary services. Reinstating it cost me $30,000 in personal favors and corporate goodwill. Josh did the math. So Emma's emoji cost the family $75,000? Give or take. Most expensive laugh-crying emoji ever. But worth it, I said, because it brought us here. To Disney World? To understanding. 6 months later, when Emma and Josh started having financial problems due to unexpected medical bills, they called me. Not to ask for money but to ask for advice. We worked together to create budgets, explore options and find solutions that maintain their dignity while addressing their needs. When Mom and Dad decided to downsize their house, I helped them find a beautiful condo and arrange the moving logistics. When they protested that they couldn't afford my help, I explained that family members help each other not because they can afford to, but because love makes it affordable. And every Christmas we take a family vacation. Sometimes to Disney, sometimes to other destinations, always together. I pay for the accommodations, they pay for their own flights and meals, and we all pay attention to what matters most. The magic that happens when people who love each other choose to see each other clearly. Because the real magic isn't in the VIP packages or the luxury suites or the private guides. The real magic is in the moment when a family realizes that success isn't about what you can afford, it's about what you choose to share. The metallic click of my key refusing to turn in the lock was almost poetic. After a 12-hour shift at the hospital, I stood on the front porch of what had been my childhood home for 28 years, staring at brass that gleamed too bright under the porch light. Fresh locks. Professional installation. The note was taped exactly where my mother knew I'd see it, written in her precise handwriting on cream-colored stationery that probably cost more than most people's grocery budget. Maya, find your own place. We're done supporting you. The locks have been changed. Your belongings are in the garage. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Mother. I read it twice, standing there in my scrubs with my stethoscope still around my neck, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Not anger. Not hurt. Relief. For 3 years, I'd been living in the converted basement of my parents' 6-bedroom colonial in Westchester County, supposedly saving money, while I built my medical practice. What they didn't know was that I hadn't needed their charity since my 2nd year of residency. What they really didn't know was that as of last Tuesday, I owned the house they'd just locked me out of. I pulled out my phone and dialed. Marcus? It's Maya. Yes, I know it's late. Proceed with the eviction notice. Tonight. Are you sure about this? My lawyer asked. It's your parents. I'm sure. They just changed the locks on my own house. I could hear him shuffling papers. The transfer went through clean last week. Westbrook Property Holdings now owns 47 Maple Street in its entirety. Your parents are officially tenants with a 30-day notice period, which as of tonight, they've violated by changing locks without landlord permission. How quickly can you have the sheriff here? Give me 2 hours. I ended the call and sat on the porch steps, finally allowing myself to process what had just happened. My parents had kicked me out. Actually kicked me out. After everything. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 months ago, when my father's accounting firm had been hemorrhaging money due to an embezzlement scandal involving my brother Trevor, I'd quietly arranged for Westbrook Property Holdings, my shell company, to purchase their mortgage from the bank. Not to hurt them. To protect them. The bank had been preparing foreclosure proceedings. I'd saved their house and let them continue living in it, paying a mortgage they could actually afford instead of the crushing payments that had been destroying their finances. I'd planned to tell them eventually. Maybe at Christmas. Maybe when Trevor's legal troubles were resolved. I'd pictured it as a gift. Surprise. You never have to worry about losing the house again. Instead, they'd decided I was a burden. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Hope this teaches you some responsibility. Maybe now you'll appreciate what we've done for you. I almost laughed. What they'd done for me. For the past 3 years I'd been paying most of their bills. Their health insurance, their car payments, the property taxes on this house, even my mother's weekly spa appointments. They thought the money was coming from my father's firm, but Richard Blackwood and Associates had been operating at a loss since Trevor's theft had been discovered. The only reason they still had clients was because I'd been quietly covering the firm's insurance and bonding costs. My parents thought I was a struggling resident living in their basement. In reality, I was Dr. Maya Blackwood, partner in Metropolitan Medical Group, with a patient list that included 3 senators, 2 federal judges, and the mayor's entire family. My medical practice generated more income in a month than my father's accounting firm had made in the past 2 years. The black sedan that pulled into the driveway at 10:47 p.m. wasn't subtle. Sheriff's Deputy Marcus Williams stepped out, followed by my lawyer and a locksmith. Dr. Blackwood, Marcus nodded. We'd worked together on several emergency medical situations. This is unusual even for you. Trust me, Marcus, this isn't how I wanted to spend my Tuesday night either. The front door opened before we reached it. My father appeared in his robe, his silver hair disheveled. Behind him I could see my mother clutching her silk robe closed, her face pale without makeup. What the hell is this? Dad demanded. Marcus held up the paperwork. Mr. Blackwood, I'm here to serve you with an eviction notice. You're in violation of your rental agreement by changing locks without landlord permission. Rental agreement? My father's voice cracked. This is our house. We own this house. Actually, sir, you don't. My lawyer stepped forward. The property was purchased by Westbrook Property Holdings last week. Here's the deed transfer. I watched my father's face as he scanned the documents. My mother moved to read over his shoulder, her manicured hand gripping his arm. This is impossible, she whispered. We never sold the house. You didn't sell it, Marcus explained patiently. Your mortgage was in default. The bank sold it to avoid foreclosure. The new owner graciously allowed you to remain as tenants, but changing the locks tonight violated the rental agreement. My father looked up from the papers, his eyes finding mine. Maya, what is this? Some kind of joke. I stepped forward. No joke, Dad. You locked me out of my own house. Your house. My mother's voice rose to a shriek. What are you talking about? Westbrook Property Holdings, I said calmly. That's my company. I bought the house to keep the bank from foreclosing. I've been covering your mortgage payments for 3 months. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. My father's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and something that might have been shame. You're lying, my mother said flatly. You don't have that kind of money. You're a resident. You live in our basement. I'm a partner at Metropolitan Medical Group, Mom. I have been for 2 years. I never lived in your basement because I needed to. I stayed because I thought you needed me here. My father was staring at the deed transfer like it might change if he looked long enough. Where did you get $300,000? Dad, I make more than that in 6 months. Trevor's legal defense alone cost me $80,000, and I've been covering the shortfall at your firm since the scandal broke. That's impossible, my mother repeated, but her voice was weaker now. I pulled out my phone and showed them my banking app. The number on the screen made my mother actually stumble backward. $2.4 million, I said quietly. That's just my checking account. The locksmith cleared his throat. Should I change the locks back, Dr. Blackwood? I looked at my parents, these people who had raised me and loved me and somehow convinced themselves that I was a burden they needed to shed. My father was 63 years old, standing in his bathrobe on a Tuesday night, being evicted from his own house by his daughter. My mother, who had just this afternoon been bragging to her book club about forcing me to be more independent, was staring at a bank balance that represented more money than they'd saved in 30 years of marriage. No, I said finally. I think we need to have a conversation first. Marcus nodded. I'll give you folks some time to work this out. But Dr. Blackwood, you're within your rights here. The lock change was a clear violation. After the sheriff and lawyer left, the 3 of us stood in the foyer of my house, and it felt strange to think of it that way, with the locksmith waiting patiently by his van. I don't understand, my father said, and for the first time in years he sounded his age. If you have this kind of money, why were you living here? Because you're my parents, I said simply. Because when Trevor got arrested and your firm started losing clients, I could see you were struggling. Because I thought maybe if I stayed close I could help without you feeling like charity cases. My mother was crying now, mascara she'd hastily applied running down her cheeks. We thought you couldn't afford. You thought I was a failure, I finished. A daughter who couldn't support herself at 28. An embarrassment you needed to motivate with tough love. Maya, we never said. Mom, you literally changed the locks and left me a note telling me to find my own place. My father sat heavily in the antique chair by the front door. Your practice. Metropolitan Medical Group. That's where Senator Williams goes. Among others. And how long have you been covering our expenses? Since Trevor's arraignment. About 8 months. The number seemed to hit him like a physical blow. 8 months. The mortgage, the property taxes, your health insurance, Dad's malpractice insurance for the firm, Mom's car payment, the utilities. Did you think your monthly expenses had magically dropped by 70%? My mother was staring at me like I was a stranger. Why didn't you tell us? Because you never asked. Because every conversation we had was about when I was going to get a real job, or move out or stop being a burden. Because I thought maybe you'd notice that your financial stress had disappeared and wonder why. We thought business was picking up, my father admitted quietly. Dad, you've had 12 clients since Trevor's arrest. 6 of them only stayed because I personally called and vouched for your integrity. The locksmith knocked gently on the door frame. Dr. Blackwood? What would you like me to do about the locks? I looked at my parents. My father, who had taught me to play chess and drive stick shift and file tax returns. My mother, who had driven me to medical school interviews and helped me move into my first apartment and braided my hair every morning until I was 12. They had also just thrown me out of their house because they thought I was a financial burden. Change them back, I said. But I want new keys made. 3 sets. Maya, my mother started, but I held up a hand. I'm going to say something and I need you both to listen. I bought this house because I love you and because I didn't want you to lose your home. But I'm not a 25-year-old resident anymore and I'm not your charity case. I'm a successful doctor with a thriving practice, and I've been financially supporting this family for almost a year. My father nodded slowly. What do you need from us? I need you to see me as an adult. I need you to stop treating me like a failure. And I need you to understand that if I stay here, it's because I choose to, not because I have nowhere else to go. Where would you go? My mother asked, and there was something fragile in her voice. I smiled for the first time all evening. I own a condo in Manhattan, a beach house in the Hamptons, and a cabin in Vermont. I could go anywhere. But you want to stay here? I want to stay here if you want me here. Not as your basement-dwelling burden, but as your daughter who owns the house and pays the bills and loves you enough to keep doing it. My father stood up and walked over to me. For a moment I thought he might hug me. Instead, he extended his hand for a formal handshake. Dr. Blackwood, he said. Would you be interested in a long-term rental arrangement with 2 tenants who promise to treat the landlord with the respect she deserves? I shook his hand. I think we can work something out. My mother was still crying, but she was also laughing. I threw out my own landlord. You threw out your daughter who happens to be your landlord, I corrected. But we can discuss the rent later. The locksmith finished his work and handed me 3 sets of keys. As I paid him, my mother touched my arm. Maya, the money you've been spending on us. Are you okay financially? Can you afford this? I looked at this woman who had raised me to be strong and independent and successful, who had somehow convinced herself that my strength was weakness. Mom, I made more money today during my shift than most people make in a month. I can afford to take care of you. But why? She asked. After what we did tonight. Because you're my parents. Because family takes care of family. And because now that you know who I really am, maybe we can build something better. My father was examining the deed transfer again. Westbrook Property Holdings. That's you. That's me. What else don't we know? I considered the question. I'm listed as one of the top cardiac surgeons under 35 in the country. I own part of the medical building where my practice is located. I've been offered department head positions at 3 major hospitals. I speak at medical conferences. I saved Senator Williams's life last year and she sends me Christmas cards. Jesus, my father breathed. And I've been living in your basement because I love you and I wanted to help you through a difficult time without making you feel like you'd failed. My mother sat down heavily on the stairs. We made you feel like you were the failure. You did. But that's okay. We can fix this. How? I looked around the foyer of my house at these people who had shaped me and supported me and completely misunderstood me. We start over. I'll stay here for now, but as an equal adult family member, not as your dependent child. You keep living here, but we all acknowledge the actual financial situation. And maybe you let me help Dad's firm properly instead of secretly. My father's head snapped up. Help how? I have connections. Medical professionals who need accounting services. Colleagues who are looking for tax advice. People who trust my recommendations. You'd recommend us? Dad, you're one of the best accountants I know. You just had some bad luck with Trevor. But I can help you rebuild if you want me to. For the first time all evening my father smiled. I think I'd like that. My mother was still processing. The beach house in the Hamptons, is it nice? I laughed. It's beautiful. You'd love it. Maybe we could go there for Thanksgiving next month. All of us. All of us. As a family. A real family where everyone contributes and everyone's valued. My father gathered up the eviction papers. What do we do with these? We frame them, I said. As a reminder that family is complicated, but love finds a way. As we stood there in the foyer of my house, I realized that this was exactly how I'd wanted to tell them about buying the house. Not as a rescue or a power play, but as a gift. As proof that their daughter had become exactly the successful, independent woman they'd raised me to be. It had just taken a pair of new locks and an eviction notice to get us there. So, my mother said finally, should we order pizza and talk about this like adults? I'd like that, I said. But I'm buying. Landlord's privilege. And for the first time in months we all laughed together. 6 months later, when my father's rebuilt accounting practice landed its biggest client ever, a medical consortium I'd introduced him to, he called to thank me. When my mother started volunteering at the free clinic where I did charity work on weekends, she said it was the most rewarding thing she'd ever done. And when Trevor finally got out of minimum security prison and needed a place to rebuild his life, he was shocked to discover that his little sister owned the family house. But that's a story for another day. For now, it was enough that when I came home from my shifts at the hospital, I used my own key to enter my own house, where my parents treated me like the successful adult I'd always been. Even if it had taken an eviction notice to get us there.